Welcome to my final Elden Ring video, with which I want to conclude the whole content being uploaded to YouTube, from my side at least, when it comes to Elden Ring, because I think I bet the game already. I bet all the bosses that are recommended to be strong bosses on Reddit and other web sources, but yeah, also that are connected to the storyline and the main plot, and as long as there are no DLCs coming very soon, I think I will just put this game to the side for some time. But I really considered playing it through a second time with a New Game Plus feature in this game, because it's so fun to do this and I really enjoy this game, and that's why I want to talk about my build that kinda made this game more like an RPG, not like an Assassin's Creed title, but it's definitely another experience than you would expect from a Souls title. Because in Souls, I think the main distinction between other games is that you have to dodge attacks very persistently, very constantly, and very precisely. So that's the thing I cannot do. I'm really not so good at reacting to certain things, and I don't like to play this over and over again. Like every boss, you have to dodge big waves of attacks, big hits, big throws, big smashes. That's just not my game. And I really enjoy that you could change that in Elden Ring, because you can play a sorcerer build, you can play a mixed build like I have, and basically alter your playstyle to differ from others significantly. And that's why I want to talk about this and give you some of my final thoughts about this game, without, of course, spoiling stuff too much and trying to avoid spoilers as best as possible. So the first thing, of course, you might have guessed it, is the Sword of Night and Flame. And that's basically how I named this build to be the Warrior of Light and Dark, because it's kinda exactly this. And yeah, Final Fantasy XIV inspired me for that weapon, and I really see some similarities between the weapon arts that you're using with this. For example, the R1 weapon art, the beam, resembles certain parts of the Shadowbringers storyline. For those that haven't played it yet, maybe skip to the next minute. But yeah, you know what beam I'm talking about. It's a bit more darkish, not so bluish like it is here in Elden Ring, but it's kind of the same idea, and you're cutting through the light of the heaven, for example. And of course, a flame is always the cleansing flame, trying to purge something, to purify, to heal. And yeah, that's basically a paladin, right? Paladin has some kind of flame abilities, like Confidia is not super flamish, but Hallowed Ground, I think there are some abilities that come very close to be flame attacks or holy flame attacks. So yeah, this is basically a paladin. That's also the reason why we're using the brass shield. And now we're going into the technical details here. The first thing I want to make sure is that you have the right int and faith stats here that are required to wear the Sword of Night and Flame, which are 24 on both of these, as well as some 12 strength and 12 dexterity, which mostly are the base values that you should have with your starting class. But if you're not having these, try to get these done, and of course try to get the Sword of Night and Flame. There are multiple guides out there where you can find it. It's very easy. You can basically get this, I think, 10 minutes in game or even less. So you should be able to do that and then farm these base sets to wear this amazing blade, which gives you the best of both worlds. You can be a caster and you can be a complete full melee paladin with the total ability to block and block counter attacks in normal ways. I can show you the damage output. If you look at our armament 1, this is my natural damage. This is basically what I deal with each weapon swing. 700 damage in total, unbuffed. I could also use Golden Vow here, but that would increase the damage even further. But yeah, that's my base damage. Of course, this weapon is maxed out with some endgame stuff that you need for that, or at least from the final area that you reach by doing the quest or doing the main quest. So yeah, that's the baseline for this build. Like I told you, the brass shield, the reason why I've chosen this shield on top of other shields that might be more powerful is because this is a very, very solid mid-tier option, and you can equip it very early in the game because it only requires you to have 16 strength. That's our baseline here, and that's the only strength attribute you should put points in, like 16, and that's it. That's it. You don't need more strength here on this build. The reason why we're using the brass sheet is every time you cannot use the mimic tier, or there are bosses that just want to hit you at some point. You can't avoid that, and you just don't want to die instantly, and you can block a lot of stuff, even magical attacks, if you have the barricade shield of Ashes of War on this, which is amazing. This is amazing. This will let you block without sacrificing too many stamina costs, or without having stamina loss at each hit received. I can show you a video. This might be a slight spoiler, so maybe you should just focus on the enemy that's not too spoilerish. But yeah, here I just had to rely on my shield and sword combat, then stagger the enemy, and then burst it down with my weapon art, the flame, the night attack, the beam. That is super powerful when you just throw it into your enemy at a very close distance. Okay, so these are the two core elements here, and of course followed by the mimic tier ashes that you can find in Nokron, kind of mid-game, I would say. This is insanely powerful because it will just copy yourself to be a second AI-controlled guy that or girl that will help you out, that will be your character just a second time. And the big deal about being so powerful with my build in particular is that I have all the healing skills in this game available, and I learned all the healing incantations that are super powerful, and this mimic tier will also use them and heal yourself and itself. So sometimes you're just standing there taking hits, and the mimic tier will just heal you up, and you didn't expect that, and you can just continue with attacking over and over again. Of course, the Flask of Cerulean Tears and Crimson Tears, you can sort that out according to the boss fight. Sometimes you don't have time to really get into the healing stuff and preparation stuff, and you just need those bulky Crimson Tier healing, very quick healing, which is still better healing than casting any heals. But yeah, there's another thing that is super strong in combination, which is the Flask of Wondrous Physic. Here we have two very powerful options, temporarily boosting charged attack power. So this means the spike track here will increase your weapon art, if I'm not misinformed about this. I think I've tested it out multiple times. As soon as I use this Flask of Wondrous Physic, my damage is increased here. So boost charge attack power. We're using charged attacks with all our weapon arts, the flame one and the beam one. Both are being boosted by this flask. And the second thing is even more important. This Opaline Bubble tier, both can be... I don't know where I can find that. There are multiple guides out there. Just Google for these exact items and you will find them in less than 10 minutes, I guess. So yeah, just get these if that sounds interesting to you, if this build is something you find interesting. But yeah, what it does, it basically grants you a bubble that at the first hit you take when using this flask, this will be mitigated to basically 5% of your HP. So you're just losing up to 5%. I would say even less than 5%. Because if you're using this, it will highly boost your defensive stat values here. While I think the stat values are a good indicator of how much it boosts, it's actually more than that. So you can just say, with that being put in here, you will just mitigate the first hit completely. It doesn't matter how strong it is. There are enemies out there that might be a one-shot hit that would otherwise 100% kill you. It doesn't here. It just is getting mitigated to maximum of 5% of your HP consumed. So you're taking not more than 5% of HP with that happening, or that being applied to yourself. But of course, this only works for one moment, or once you use this Flask of Wondrous Physic. The reason why we're doing this is because it will grant you so much more uptime. Sometimes this can be the game changer of having another blast put into your enemy that is able to stagger, because the Night Beam has the big advantage. It can stagger your enemy and it can stun your enemy, and then you can continue and just pushing more beams into your enemy. So what this does is it gives you the time to get more aggressive, get more offensive, and just mitigate the first hit that you could get, or sometimes you could just get hit where you didn't expect this into your battle plan, which could disrupt your battle plan intensively, and with this flask it doesn't. So this is a very, very powerful combination with incantations like, for example, the Blessings of the Earth Tree. This is insanely nice. If you do that, this will regenerate health over time very, very significantly. And in combination with the flask here, it's really, really powerful because you get this very, very small hit and then be generated to full HP. And the reason why being full HP is super important is for the next thing that I want to add onto my build, which is this little Ritual Shield Talisman. This insanely raises your defense against physical hits, or basically all hits, when your HP is at maximum. So you equip this, then you take the first hit that is very, very very small, then your HP gets regenerated by your Blessings of the Earth Tree, which you can do pre-combat, which is an insane thing to do. So if you look at that, you have a physical, or basically all defense, of 50,000, and that's amazing. That's basically way more than any heavy armor could give you and grant you. So as soon as you're on max HP, the next hit you will take is also reduced. So the first hit you take is being reduced significantly by the Flask of Wondrous Physic, and then the next hit of being on full HP is also being reduced. So the first two hits you take are just very, very small, very, very mitigated significantly. And if you want to go even more defensively, what I really like is the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman put on top of this. This will also boost your defensive values even further, at least the physical ones, which are, I think, 70 or 80% of damage you take is physical, or that's the damage that might disrupt your battle flow, because some enemies are just weaving their tail or hitting you with claws, hitting you with melee strikes, whatever. This is being mitigated by the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman very, very nicely. And on top of that, to also bolster your offensive values, use the Godfrey icon, which enhances charged spells and skills in the same way that the Wondrous Physic does, but permanently. So your beam and your flame sword deal more damage constantly. And that's really, really very, very nice to have. So this is a build you mitigate the first hit very, very heavily with the Flask of Wondrous Physic, and then the second hit, because you're regenerating HP to a max again with your Blessings of the Earth Tree, you're using the Ritual Shield Talisman. And the reason why I'm having more spells here, because there's also the Earth Tree heal. This will basically heal you up completely, except you're having tons of HP, like more than 2,000 or anything like that, or 1,500 already. But the reason why we're having this is that your Mimic tier will also use this, and this has a very, very, very heavy range. So if you're using this, I can show you the range here. You can see how far this effect goes. This goes very, very far, and if your Mimic tier uses this and you're not too far away from him or her, it will be applied to you as well, and will heal you up as well. So another thing, Urgent Heal. It doesn't heal much, but it also doesn't consume much FP, which is very useful if you just want to max out your HP for, yeah, let this effect happen, the Ritual Shield Talisman happen. And yeah, the mid-tier heal, just the basic... Oh, I just destroyed the speaker's desk here, sorry. Yeah, the mid-tier heal is also very nice, because basically having the same... If you don't need the big heal, but need a stronger heal than the urgent heal, then this is very good to have these tiers of heal. The big heal, the medium heal, and the small heal. On top of that, I really like the Golden Vow. Some Paladin builds apply this on their sword, but it's not possible on the Knight in Flame sword because it has weapon arts on itself. But you can do this manual with the spell, and this will increase your defensive capabilities a bit. Not that much, but it's very, very good on top, but it definitely increases your damage output significantly, at least by 100 here in my scaling level. So this will increase your damage significantly, and it will also buff your Mimic tier. So if your Mimic is very close, you can use this, and it will enhance your Mimic tier, and your Mimic tier will also do this from time to time. Sometimes it's a bit bad, because in battle situations where Mimic tier should not do this, it might do this in front of just dying, and should have used the heal otherwise, and that would be a better option. But yeah, that's a bargain we can have in there at least. Okay, another very crucial thing here is the Golden Order seal, because it increases your healing output and your incantation scaling significantly. I'm still not completely sure if that works for the weapon arts, but I think it does. And this does, when it does it intensively. Like, this is one of the most powerful incantation boosts that you can wear, and yeah, of course, this is what you want to do when you're just using the weapon arts and then not having need for the shield at that moment. Yeah, this is actually a very easy drop, also being found on the Altus Plateau. Yeah, you should check that out. It should be just 2 clicks and you can find the map location where you can find this. It's super powerful. It also scales with intelligence and faith, which is a perfect combination to your Sword of Night and Flame. So this is really, really powerful. Okay, so to the final thing about the stats here, in which order you should start this. Of course, you should start by boosting intelligence and faith to that point where you can wear the Night and Flame sword to 24 of each, and then continue with the strength to 16, which, yeah, can be reached by just using some different talismans here. For example, the Radagon Source here, I used this for quite a while when I wasn't that high level boosted that I'm right now, because it grants you endurance, which you need for heavy armor, wearing heavy armor, strength, dexterity, and vigor, everything you need. That's basically good, but it also increases damage taken, so this has a downside, and as soon as you get higher level or just go into strength very early on, you don't need this anymore, and you can just spam points into vigor and mind later on. And that's basically what you should do afterwards, before going ham on intelligence and faith, because that's basically your damage scaling here, which also affects the weapon arts. Yeah, if you start this and you checked all the boxes for intelligence and faith to equip the sword, then check the box for strength to equip the brass shield, go for vigor and mind so that you have a little bit of healthy health pool and FP that you can use to summon incantations or use incantations very frequently, and without just using one Earth Tree healing and then being completely out of mana here and having to use a flask of Cerulean Tears too early or too frequently. That's what these high pools give you and grant you. And then afterwards, after you've reached a very comfy level of these health points and FP points, F points, faith points is actually right. I don't know. It's just I'm so used to mana points or magic points that I don't actually know what FP means. But yeah, it's FP, and you should increase that to a comfortable level, and then afterwards go into intelligence and faith, because these are very, very solid options to increase your damage output. And yeah, that's basically it. You can just wear that without heavy armor. That's not needed. You can do that with a sword, sorcerer armor or anything that is good looking, because like I said, the big deal of physical mitigation is being drawn out of the talisman and the flask. So very heavy armor is not needed here, but as I have put some more points into endurance to wear this together with the shield, that's very, very good compromise. So you have solid defensive stats, still good looking character, I think, and you still have the fast rolls. Don't have to rely on the very, very sloppy ones, which I think are a bit of a disadvantage that you should not try to get to a certain point. Okay, that's it for the build. It's a Warrior of Light and Darkness because of the reasons that I told you. And my final closing words about Elden Ring, I would say give it a chance. If you haven't done this, haven't played this game, or if you surrendered at the first boss, give it a chance. The biggest thing about this game, the greatest thing about this game compared to Souls, is that you always have the feeling and the power to just level. You can just level, and it's not like leveling, grinding stuff very, very in a boring way or very uninteresting way. You can just do content. You can just explore the world. You can kill bosses that are not as strong and powerful as the boss that is blocking your progress or anything like that. You can just progress through the world and get level up automatically by doing so. And while doing so, I can tell you with this build right now, even the strongest bosses out there, maybe with 2 exceptions that are just completely depending on having luck, having a good setup, having a good pattern of attacks that happen, you can really just blow bosses down insanely fast, and you can kill them without any defensive values or without any struggle. I could tell you I could do a New Game Plus, and I think I could just easily play this game to the last bosses again without any struggle now, because how strong this build is, how tanky you are, how tanky your Mimic tier is when you can use it, and that's so cool. And this game really shines at exactly these aspects, being so immersed that you really feel like being a part of this universe when you're playing this game. And exploring is so much fun to do, and without having this very, very centralized story plot that you follow on, like in Final Fantasy games, for example, it does the open world so well that I think this could be the best open world game on the market right now. So if you think this game is just purely nonsense, like I've seen on some comments on my Elden Ring uploads yet, maybe you should give it a second chance. Try out a different build. Just don't be the hey, I have to dodge stuff. You don't need to. You don't need to. If you're playing strategically, if you're using summons, Mimic tiers, other summons, or the option that you can summon NPCs to your side at certain bosses, or you can use shackles, for example. Margit, the first boss, you can use shackles to stun him, for example. That will make the fight significantly easier. And let me just tell you, I'm really not a good Souls player. I'm really not good at dodging. Sometimes I used to be very good. I had some very good moments in this game as well. I think one of my best gamer moments in general, but still, I think I could cheese some bosses. I could play the game very strategically and very differently than I would play a Souls game. And what is so great here, and compared to the difficulty scaling of Souls or other games in that way, is that these graces are spread over the whole map very, very heavily. So you just complete one boss and you have a save point, a checkpoint. And then you go to the next one and you have a checkpoint. You don't lose progress so much like you did in other games. And that's what gave me frustration, and that what frustrated me so much that I stopped playing them. And that's not the same thing in Elden Ring. Give it a chance if you haven't done so. I played this game for 100 or more than 100 hours already, and I would just do a New Game Plus, which I would not do in any other game, maybe except Final Fantasy XIV, because I just want to explore some story details again, or in a bit more detailed way with more knowledge now. But no other single player game I would do a New Game Plus like I would enjoy in Elden Ring, I think. So give this game a chance. Use the time that we have content drought in Final Fantasy XIV to enjoy other games as well. And yeah, that's basically what I can tell you. This game is not hyped for no reason. Really, it's a really solid game. It's really good. And if you hated the Dark Souls series, it doesn't mean that you will hate Elden Ring. It's so different. It's really super different. And I haven't played through the Dark Souls series because I just stopped playing them at certain points because they frustrated me so much that I couldn't continue. But exactly the opposite was the case on Elden Ring, because I always felt like, hey, this boss is too strong. I can just level. I can just explore the world more and return when I have grown stronger. And that's basically a super satisfying moment and realization that you should have, and that will make this game a much easier and much more applicable game to the broader audience than Dark Souls, in my opinion. Okay, that's it, guys. Sorry for the super long video. I hope that my honest feedback help you out, and my build can help you out to enjoy this game maybe even more than you already did, or maybe give you a second chance of trying it out with a more strategical, more RPG-like build, because yeah, you're not dodging. You can block very, very comfortably every attack that you need, or you have a second player, so to say, with the Mimic tier that will help you with all the difficult bosses. Even the strongest boss in game, you can summon that Mimic tier there, and it's a common strategy to be used against the super powerful attack patterns that this enemy will throw at you. So do that, try it out for yourself. Maybe you can mix and match these ideas that I have thrown in here. But yeah, like I said, this Paladin build is super strong with the Mimic tier, because the Mimic tier will also heal you. It's basically a Final Fantasy XIV Paladin, but with the power of the Warrior of Darkness that we experience in Shadowbringers. So that's it, guys. That's my final Elden Ring video. Thank you so much for still sticking around, for those that didn't unsubscribe because of, yeah, not Final Fantasy XIV being uploaded here on this channel. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your amazing feedback on my last post here. And yeah, it's time for Final Fantasy again. I already completed my Black Mage. The Black Mage is on level 90 now, and we can continue with content there. And we will do streams next week because I think my voice has recovered to a point where I feel comfortable to do a stream again. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful Sunday evening, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep loving Final Fantasy or Elden Ring or games in general, and stop thinking about war crimes and war on this world, right? Goodbye.